welcome to Love Bytes, the show where we debug romance. Now, I am not a doctor. I am not a psychiatrist.
I am not a patient.
I don't have a degree in sociology or psychology, but what I do have is wealth of experience and a sincere desire to help you. Because sometimes love can get messy. Sometimes, if you're not careful, love bites. Welcome to our second episode of Love Bytes, and aside from minor technical problems, we're back on track. It's good to have you here again. So let's just jump right on in with question number 1. I am 22 years old, and I've never even kissed a girl. The only girls I can tell are attracted to me. I'm not attracted to myself. I'm not ugly, around a 7 or 8 depending on the day, and I just get extremely nervous around the girls that I'm attracted to. Do I just go out with a girl I'm not attracted to in order to get over my nerves, or do I keep trying with the girls that I am? I find it akin to wanting to play out a macro game versus someone in diamond, or settling for a 6 pooling a bronze leaguer. Well, first problem is that you're playing Zerg. And when you have all these banelings and hydras and zerglings behind you and infestors, it really puts off girls. It makes them feel uncomfortable because you're a Zerg player. So firstly, I would recommend playing Terran. Playing Terran is the correct way to attract females, because then you have siege tanks and you have, Reapers, and you've got Banshees and battle cruisers. Easy peasy. Terran's the way to go. Now, if you can't, for some reason, ever stop playing Zerg, if you need the spawning pools and all like the creepy green guys that want to get really close and then explode all over you, like if that is something you have to keep with no matter what, I would say no. Do not go out with a girl that you are unattracted to. That is horribly mean to her and terrible for you. I mean, let's be serious here. Let's say there's a girl that you really like. She's gorgeous, she's perfect, and she's like, yeah, I guess I'll go out with you, but she's not really into it, and the entire time you're like, oh my god, she's great, and she's just like, I'm just tolerating this person. It's gonna suck for you, it's gonna suck for her. Don't do it. Don't go out with people for pity's sake. It's terrible, it's degrading, and doesn't get you anywhere. I really do believe you should play Terran, though. I know we discussed this metaphor last time, but it's really... I mean, we'll bring a girl on in the show a little bit later, and she can probably confirm that Terran is that's how you get the ladies. I mean, yeah. So in terms of nerves and attractiveness, or dealing with attraction, you should put yourself in a situation where you feel comfortable. Because I understand you can be like super nervous out in some areas, but in your element, you're pretty good, right? Like when you're doing whatever it is that you do, like with your friends, with your closest friend, you're not nervous. You're having fun, you're doing great. And then when you're out of your element is when you're nervous and uncomfortable. So try and approach these girls that you are attracted to when you're in your element, or find a situation where you are more in your element to kind of like lower your nerves. Other than that, being nervous is kind of just difficult to deal with, because it's really one of the things that you can't. No amount of advice can help you get over. You just have to get over it yourself. So the best way to help that process is to be in a place where you are normally relaxed and comfortable. If you're whatever that is, like whatever makes you comfortable, find a way to be in that position while you're talking to the female, the target, yeah. Now, and just one other thing I want to touch on this very briefly is, don't worry about being 22 and never kissed a girl. I have a very, very close friend who didn't kiss a girl until he was like 19. He went out with a girl for a year and a half without ever kissing her. Like a year and a half dating someone, never kissed her. Today, he's a very well-adjusted guy. He's a great guy. very successful long-term relationship, blah, 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 blah. So don't worry about the 20, I'm 22 and I've never kissed a girl thing. It's fine. Kissing comes naturally to everyone. Don't sweat it, dude. Just bide your time, put yourself in the proper element where you can approach a female like that. Make sense? Good, good. Um, Jumping from that, we're going to go into a super serious question. So I'm going to try and level with everyone and be serious for a little bit. I found a really amazing partner that I'd like to be with, but she might have herpes. How do I deal with this problem without getting herpes myself and not making them angry about it? Aside from the typo in here, um, so here's the big question: STDs. Oh shit, what do you do? Well, it depends. Let's talk about herpes in particular. I don't want to start giving you guys statistics. You should always look up any statistics for yourself. Don't trust anyone on this stuff. But up until like the 80s, I think it was, everyone just had herpes and no one gave a shit. It wasn't until in like the 1980s when drug companies found like treatments for it, because there is no cure, but they found treatments for it, that they started like running advertisements and everyone's like, holy fucking shit, herpes. Oh my God, we can't have this stuff. So, so to be perfectly honest with you, it's really not this one particular one. Everything that I've looked up about it says it's really not that actually big of a deal. And a lot of people who have it don't even get symptoms, and you wind up with, 40% of the population, depending on your ethnicity, your ethnic demographic, having it anyway. So you may, like, for this one in particular, you may want to do some research and be like, well, you know what, maybe it's actually not even that big of a deal because everyone winds up having it, and who really cares in the long run? But if that's something that you can't get over, or if it's a more serious disease, like, you know, something more serious that I don't want to pull out of the hat right now, uh, there's no 100% way to prevent yourself from getting any disease. So you're going to have to, at some point, just do a cost benefit analysis. I would say with this one, do your research. It's not actually, from everything I've read on the topic, it's not actually that big of a deal. And I know that like flies in the face of everyone, but you've got two herpes. You've got oral and you've got genital, and there's two strange, HPV1, HPV2. You can get either one in either place, and it doesn't, it depends on the strain, depends on the location. I do some research, look stuff up online, read a book. It will help you a lot with this stuff. Really, for this one disease, it's not. Everything I've read says it's not as bad as it sounds. It's not as bad as the public opinion on it. So that's where I would go with this. Okay, hopefully we can reduce the seriousness of this conversation. Question 3. My significant other doesn't approve of a hobby and constantly fights and constant fights occur. Discussions have been had and terms have been drawn, but my friends say I will become a pushover if I give it up. What should I do? Well, let's talk about your hobbies here. Clearly your hobby is playing Terran, right? I mean, you're certainly not a Protoss player. No one would respect a Protoss player, and everyone finds Zerg players creepy. Or you might have another hobby like Dungeons and Dragons, or making a fool of yourself on the internet. Those are all perfectly legitimate hobbies that you can have. Your significant other doesn't approve, and you guys constantly get in fights over it. Well, they don't like your hobby. Your hobby is what you do for fun. Your significant other is a person that you're supposed to love. If the two of them don't mesh, you kind of have to. You either have to A, give up on your hobby, B, give up on your significant other, C, find a way to make them mesh. Now, if you've already fought over it and you've had discussions and terms have been drawn, it sounds like you're at the point where you can't you can't make the mesh. So then you really have to just decide, is your hobby more important to you than this person? And if your hobby is more important to you, well, then maybe you should, have a discussion with your significant other being like, I can't give this up, but if you really can't live without it or live with it, then we should bounce. Which is an acceptable answer if you play Terran. If you play Zerg or Protoss, you should just stop. Because you're probably a bad person and a criminal. If you play random, you can keep that. That's respectable. It's a little shady, but it's respectable. If your hobby is something self-destructive, then you should absolutely give it up. But I doubt that's actually the. Oh yeah, if your hobby is porn, don't listen to your significant other. Go for it. Maybe hide it better. You know, you know. But really, just we should just communicate. We should all just get along. Yeah, everyone's laughing in chat. Isn't chat hilarious? Let's move on just a little bit. Ooh, we're blazing through these much more quickly than I had anticipated. I need to slow down, which is what she said. I recently had a one night stand with a girl, but now I'm starting to wonder if I shouldn't pursue her. But I'm not sure if I should or if it's worth it. Wow. Wow. So, one night stand with a girl, and maybe now you're interested with her after the one night stand. Well, that's okay. That's perfectly fine. Um, if you like her, you should date her or try to. Um, and if you don't know how to approach it, you could just call her and be like, "Hey, the other night was a lot of fun. Maybe we should do it again sometime." And then you can just kind of like have a series of one night stands, which then can lead into a relationship. That is one way of doing it. Or you could call her and be like, "Hey, that was fun. Maybe we should like go hiking first, or go, play some 2v2s first, or let's watch some Mafia together." Because that's a great thing you can do. You can always watch Mafia with your significant others on Wednesday nights on twitch.tv/Koibu. It's really great. Or yeah, but you can just kind of get into that sort of thing. Oh yeah, yes, 2v2, wink and a nod. Yeah. Um, but yeah, so if you had a one night stand with her and you like her, there's no reason you shouldn't go after her. A lot of healthy relationships start that way. Go for it. Totally go for it. I mean, there's no reason not to, right? Okay. Wow, this is going a lot fast. Uh, I want to start running a weekly pen and paper group, D&D group for the rest of you. Um, after I move into my new house with my new fiance, we're just gonna call this person Sir Bragalots. Uh, while she easily accepts my geekier impulses, she doesn't quite share them and can be very demanding of my time, and express some apprehension as to how much of my free time that would eat up. Any advice on what I could do when this situation becomes more pressing to ease her worries slash get her to understand how much this outlet means to me? Well, new house, new fiance, you're doing pretty well, dude. You're doing pretty well. Pen and paper, that's respectable. That's on par with playing Terran, so you're doing really well in that spot. Um, Fiance that accepts your geekier impulses, great. So far you're 4 for 0. She wants more of your time. That's not a bad thing. Clearly, you asked her to marry her. You asked her to marry you, so that's not a big deal. You love spending time with her, clearly. Otherwise, you wouldn't have gone for that, right? Right. So you must love spending time with her. So how do you get her to accept your geekier impulses? Well, what are her hobbies? What does she like to do? You know, yeah, I definitely recommend throwing up yourself a little man cave. Like regardless of whether you have a fiance or a new house, you should every man should have a man cave and every woman should have a woman cave. Although woman cave sounds really weird. Don't call it a woman cave. Call it something else. Yeah. So you're 4 for 0. You got this fiance. You're gonna move into a new house. You guys are super in love, but she doesn't. She might like not be cool with you taking all your pen and paper time. Well, I would look at her hobbies. Be like, hey, you really enjoy doing A, B, or C, uh, and you spend a lot of your like time doing that. That isn't us time. Well, I have that equivalent need of me time, but for me, the me time isn't me being alone. It's me being with these guys. Like that's how I express my me time is through the social interaction with my nerd friends. You may have your me time being like with your female friends or your whatever friends you have, or maybe it is solo activities. But like I have this need, like this need to do this thing. It's like a creative outlet for me. It makes me feel better about everything I do. It's how I get fun. It reminds me of back when I used to play Terran and used to be, GM on the NA ladder. Uh, so if you put it to her in terms like that, that's just it's something that you kind of like need to do for yourself, and that it doesn't necessarily deviate from or detract from your relationship. And it's kind of just something that you need to get fulfilled. She should understand that. I mean, she agreed to marry you, right? So she should understand how you work. If you just kind of, you know, just lay it all out there very carefully, very just, well, this is what I need. I feel it's very similar to your shoe shopping experience. You love to go shop for shoes, or, maybe it's like, well, this is on par with your, what do what is something hilarious that women can do? You're like baiting nerds across the street. That's a XKCD. Never mind. Uh, if you can just put it in terms that they can understand, like, it's similar to what you do here. It's similar to what I do there. That should help them understand a little bit better. You know, does that make sense? That should make sense to you. Okay. How does one get a second date? P&P stands for pen and paper, means pen and paper role playing game. It just basically, oh, lady cave instead of woman cave. Lady cave, that's the way you'd go. Um, pen and paper is basically the catch-all for D&D. How does one get a second date? A second date. So clearly you've had a first date. First date went well. If you are now wondering how you get a second date, you've already fucked up your approach. So this may not help you in your current situation, Mr. Anonymous or Miss Anonymous, but here's how you do it. First date's going well, clearly, because you want a second one. You're getting towards the end of the date where you part ways or you drop them off or whatever it is that you do at the end of your date. At the end, right as you're about to part, you say, "Hey, I had a really great time tonight." "Oh, I had a really great time tonight too. Maybe we could do this another time." "Oh, I'd love that." "Okay, cool. Well, I'll give you a call sometime." Smile, wave, kiss on the cheek, part. Kiss on the cheek is classy. Go for it, guys. Don't ever underestimate it. Always go for the kiss on the cheek because it's super classy and it's breaks that touch barrier so you can like kind of get a little bit closer, but you're clearly like as you go for it, you kind of have to move to the side so they clearly understand you're not going for like a kiss on the lips, which might be too much at any given point. I'm a big fan of kiss on the cheek approach. Anyway, so you go for that, you give a peck on the cheek, and then you say goodbye and you smile and you wave or hug or whatever, and then you wait a little bit because your first instinct is, oh my God, call her right away, which can work. Like if you have that date where everything's perfect and it's amazing and you can't wait to call her the next day, you're going to know that you can just call her right away. But generally speaking, you kind of need a little time to sit back. I know this is like the most cliche, dumb thing in the world, but if you wait a few days, 3 days is a very good number. And I hate plugging this because it sounds so lame. But if you actually just kind of like take a step back, give it a few days. That way, like you calm down a little bit, but then you judge how much you really want to see this person. If you keep thinking about them, yeah, I really want to see her again, want to see her again. After the third day, if you still want to see her, then you can make that call. And after 3 days, she'll be like, wow, he was great. You reflected on the situation, like, yeah, that was a lot of. She'll be able to reflect on the situation, be like, that was fun. I really enjoyed, playing 2v2s with him. Watching that Mafia game was great. I couldn't, I didn't expect Neil to be town, but he was town. Neil's always town. Well, that's weird. That's the sort of thing. If that was what your date was, you did a good job. It's a good, great date. Same thing with the kiss on the cheek. Good idea. Um, you know, but at that point, so that's what you should do. Is you should just say, "Hey, I had a lot of fun. I'll call you sometime." After they say, "Yeah, I had a lot of fun too." If they said, "No, well, yeah, thanks," and they kind of like don't respond, "I had a lot of fun," you fucked up, and you're gonna have to be super creative to get a second date. But assuming the first date went well, just at the end of it, be like, "Hey, I had a lot of fun tonight. Maybe I'll call you sometime," or "Can I call you sometime?" Maybe I'll call you sometime is the like little smoother way of doing it, where you kind of like you say it with a smile and some confidence, and they know that it means that you'll call them. Um, "Can I call you sometime?" Also acceptable, depending on how old-fashioned slash modern your person is. But yeah, it's pretty easy. Yeah, eye contact's good. Get eye contact. All right, here we go. So, let's say my friend, let's call him Breger, is heavily introverted. How would you go about dating if you were such a person? Well, I would tell your friend that, again, like I said earlier, it's kind of a matter of being in your element. So, for example, you guys may not see this because you see me on stream only. I am an incredibly shy, introverted person when I'm not in my element. If you were just to like bump into me on the street and like pick up a conversation with me and I didn't know who you were, or like, you could be like the most gorgeous woman in the world and it would, like start hitting on me right away and I would have no idea what to do. I'd be like, oh, that's nice. Well, I gotta go do this, but like I would fall apart. You guys see me as outgoing and extroverted because I'm kind of like in my element. Like I feel comfortable here. This is my bedroom. I've got my stream up. I'm doing video game stuff. Yeah, esports, video games, woo. Um, or you see me doing D&D or, out teaching ballroom or whatever. Like those are my elements. Like I feel comfortable there. But if you hit someone, if you're in an area where you're not in your element, you're really uncomfortable and shy and awkward and introverted. So you, anonymous person, you Breger, uh, you're heavily introverted, but I'm sure there's instances where you're not. I'm sure there's places where you actually feel comfortable and you can relax and have some fun. So you need to introduce that comfort area into the like trying to find a person. So let's say you're really comfortable with playing StarCraft. Let's say you're a scummy Zerg player, and you're part of like the StarCraft club at school. Well, when you're at the StarCraft club, maybe you can ask one of the girls there if, to try and go out if you like one of them there. Okay, maybe there's no girls in your StarCraft club. Okay, maybe your StarCraft club is entirely guys, which is ridiculous because there should be a bunch of girls in there. But let's just pretend for now it's the only females that you would be interested in are nowhere near your comfort zones. How do you deal with that? How do you deal with that? Well, if you're over 21, a little bit of alcohol helps. It's a social lubricant. I hate advertising the use of drugs or alcohol for the purposes of relationships, but just a little bit can actually help take off that social edge. That's why everyone fucking drinks. Everyone does it, and it's because it is a social lubricant and helps that sort of thing. But let's say you can't, or you don't want to, or you're not 21 or whatever. Perfect. Um, find someone that's equally introverted as you is an option. Online dating is an option. Don't dismiss it. It's pretty legit. I would I would recommend it for people that really might have a hard time meeting. Joining a club or a group, like get one of your other friends, go together, like find a meetup, and then go play like Jericho or whatever. Kind of like get a friend. Put yourself in a situation where you can be comfortable, and there will be other people there. And if you need to like drag a friend along, drag a friend along. But you gotta people men and women respond well to confidence, even if it's fake confidence. So put yourself in a situation where you feel comfortable, where you can be confident or fake it. Don't ever underestimate the value of faking it. And that should help you. That should help you a little bit. I hope it helps you. Fake it till you make it is legitimately like my motto on basically everything. Like I faked everything ever in my life until I figured out how to do it. Like I taught myself how to ride a motorcycle. I just bought one, put it on the ground, and tried to figure out how to do it, and faked it, and fell down a bunch until I figured out how to do it on my own. I don't recommend it. You'll probably get yourself killed, but it works. Uh, fake it till you make it is the greatest thing you can do. Like just pretend you know it, and then just go for it. Okay. Question number. I'm in the friend zone with this girl I really like. What do I do? Well, let's just talk about the friend zone for a moment, ladies and gentlemen. Let's talk about this illustrious and wonderful friend zone. First off, everyone should go read the Wikipedia article on friend zone because that shit is fucking hilarious. There is a Wikipedia article on the friend zone, and you should take a look. It's really good. But let's be super fucking honest about what the friend zone is. Friend zone is a term that was coined by Friends, the TV show Friends, and it basically means you're in a position where a girl thinks of you as a friend and not a romantic option. It's not like this magical place where things can't happen. It's literally she just thinks of you as a friend. And we call it the friend zone to help make ourselves like feel better. Like, oh fuck, I got friend zoned by this girl the other day. Damn, it sucked. Like, no, let's be honest. She's just not into you, dude. Which is, sometimes acceptable. Uh, so this friend zone thing, you know what? Let's flip it upside down for a moment here. I'm sure there is a girl that you know that you do not see as a romantic possibility. There's no way you would be interested in her, right? She's just like not appealing. She's not necessarily ugly or awful, but you're just like, meh, not interested. What if she is stuck in your friend zone? She may not be wanting to date you, but she's still in your friend zone. How does she get out of that? You're like, well, there's no way. I'm just not into her. Whatever. Well, same for you dudes. If she's not into you, then she's not into you. And if you're being honest and being yourself and she's still not into you, well, you're kind of, you know, you can either change yourself or you can move on to someone else. But we should be honest about what this friend zone thing is. It's just our nice way of putting she's not into you, which kind of sucks. And it's nice having like a scapegoat or a term that you can use to kind of like remedy the situation a little bit. But let's be clear here, friend zone is just she thinks of you as a friend, which is fine. Don't don't weigh it too much. Does that make sense? That makes sense. We're going to take like a 3-minute break and then we're going to come back with our first guest ever. Okay? Okay.